Look at this massive accumulation of data. For over 2 millennia, Chinese imperial courts generated an ocean of administrative records, edicts, and state papers. To make sense of centuries of political data, imperial historians had to engineer physical structures to organize it all. The most prominent solution was the official dynastic history, known as the Zhengxi. These texts were organized using a biographic thematic framework called Jizhuanti. They grouped information by subject, mapping out the lives of emperors, the careers of officials, and drafting distinct treatises on geography and law. But this split screen shows a different approach. While the Jizhuanti built a complex web of biographies on the left, imperial bibliographers maintained a shadow structure on the right, the Bianyan Lei, or Annals and Chronicles. This format relied on a strict, continuous chronological timeline. Here you can see how the narrative completely shifts. The text strips away thematic storytelling and character arcs. Instead, it locks every event to a specific year, advancing relentlessly through time. Organizing history by subject versus organizing it by time dictated how the state established truth. The structure a historian chose determined how political legitimacy was recorded for future generations. In the 18th century, Qing dynasty scholars compiled the Siku Quanshu, the ultimate descriptive bibliography of Chinese literature. In it, they categorized the chronological annals as a subcategory, serving as a secondary source to the official dynastic histories. Yet the bibliographer's own notes reveal a contradiction. Before the biographic style was formalized by early historians, the strict chronicle was considered the single correct method for writing history. A late Ming period catalog, the Guoxi Jingji Zhe, analyzed this divide. The compilers concluded that because the annals format was older, it held a more canonical, or dianxun, status. The imperial court needed the biographical webs to construct its official narratives. However, to keep those narratives anchored to reality, it relied entirely on the mathematical precision of the chronological annals. This image shows the physical spine of the Chongchu, or Spring and Autumn Annals. The term Bianyin first appears in a commentary to this specific text, establishing it as the foundational model for chronological writing. This diagram illustrates the bedrock rule derived from that text. A chronological year is only considered complete when all 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, are explicitly recorded in sequence. The antiquity of this method was proven during the Jin period, between 265 and 420 CE. Grave robbers uncovered a tomb library belonging to King Sheng of Wei, a regional ruler from the Warring States period centuries earlier. The recovered documents were written in this distinct text known as kedu, or tadpole script. This large seal script provided the physical proof that the texts predated the imperial era. Scholars realized these fragments constituted the annals of the state of Wei. They compiled them into what we now call the Bamboo Annals, cementing the chronicle as China's original historical technology. The earliest Chinese histories prioritized strict temporal mechanics over heroic storytelling. They operated as a continuous data loop, designed to mathematically secure the passage of time. The biographic style that later became dominant contained a major structural flaw. It required a legitimate male ruler to anchor its core imperial annal section. This created a severe data mapping problem when powerful female regents took control of the state. Figures like Empress Dowager Lu and Empress Wu Zetian ruled effectively, but broke the established structural mold. The official biographic histories struggled to accommodate them. Attempting to write an imperial chapter for a female ruler forced historians to generate complex justifications regarding imperial legitimacy. The chronological format bypassed this issue entirely. By prioritizing time over personality, the Binan structure maintained neutrality, counting years regardless of gender. Removing moral debates, it simply locked the progression of years to the reign of the female regent. Where the biographical format fractured under political edge cases, the strict mathematical chronology held firm. It provided a structural corrective that kept the historical record unbroken. Looking at this page from a traditional text, you see the dense, vertical recording style typical of early chronicles. Initially, these texts were confined to single dynasties, categorized simply as ancient histories, like Xuanyu's Hanji, which covered only the former Han period. During the Song period, the scope of these records expanded. Historians, most notably Sima Guang, began constructing universal histories designed to span across multiple dynasties. In this visualization, isolated blocks of dynastic time are suddenly pierced and connected. This represents Sima Guang's monumental Ziji Tongzhen, a text that threaded isolated eras into a single continuous chronological narrative. Connecting dynasties broke the traditional bibliographic filing system. Imperial catalogers faced a taxonomic crisis and engineered a new third-layer category called Jilu, specifically to contain these massive multi-dynastic timelines. The sheer volume of historical data rapidly outgrew its original containers, forcing the organizational technology used by imperial bibliographers to fundamentally evolve. As the chronological category expanded, it absorbed extraneous data. The filing system became cluttered with texts lacking true historical authority. First came the calendar systems, which were purely mathematical lists. Then came unrecognized regional states, factions without an imperial mandate, operating outside the rightful succession. Bibliographers mistakenly grouped them together. Scholars systematically severed anomalous branches from the central taxonomy, pushing calendars and illegal state records into isolated categories. This aggressive pruning protected the main chronological record, ensuring the core annals contained only the canonical, state-sanctioned progression of time. To secure the official timeline, historians had to act as data filters. By ruthlessly quarantining raw mathematics and unsanctioned regional narratives, these scholars successfully hardened the central, unbroken spine of imperial Chinese history. By the Qing dynasty, the exact role of these chronological texts was fully codified. The Siku Quanshu finalized the structure of the imperial library, firmly placing the Bianyan in its specific operational role. The compilers established the principle of Shangfu Sing. This meant the chronological annals were designed to circulate in a direct assisting function to the official biographic dynastic histories. This animation visualizes their symbiotic relationship. The biographic histories provided the complex moral and political narratives, while the rigid chronology provided the underlying mathematical framework. Stripping the narrative away was not a weakness of the annals, it was their primary utility. The austere, date-first structure allowed state scholars to verify the massive scale of the imperial record without getting lost in the storytelling. You can see the physical reality of this continuity here, in the immense length of a handwritten chronicle scroll. The text rolls forward without interruption, a literal manifestation of unbroken time. The chronological timeline served as the ultimate structural anchor of Chinese civilization. It was the silent, steady clock upon which 2,000 years of imperial history was carefully and safely constructed.